Sesh, Building in Public, episode number... Well, here's the thing. I recorded an episode number 1, but I did not use the right software. Basically, I filmed it on my cell phone, like on a tripod right here, and then I recorded my screen just like with the native screen record. And I was like, oh, it can't be that hard for me to just download Final Cut and learn how to do that. And I made a fatal flaw. When I recorded it on my phone, I recorded in full res HDR. Well, guess what happens when you do upload that? If you check this button, it does something where it takes the 1 gigabyte video and turned it into 160 gigabytes, which basically almost busted up this whole computer. So then I found this Loom, shout out to Loom, that I'm using to record this now. So I recorded the episode 2, which then when I uploaded it to YouTube, I called it episode 1. So now this is the official episode 2, and we'll have a hidden archive video as well. So welcome, I'm Will, and I am the founder of the Mary app. The Mary app is a cannabis tracking and insights app with a members-only marketplace. We allow people to come and track their cannabis use and learn and understand their personal relationship with cannabis. And we allow brands to help understand their customers by forging personal relationships with them, being able to sell directly to them, and learn from their habits. So we have multiple parts of this. I just wanted to take some time in this episode to first share our first smoke together. After all, these are sessions. These are our dev sessions where I'm sitting here doing some development. I think this one's going to be more of like a project management session. But essentially, I just want to dive into our project roadmap and then pick up on the last episode. Basically, we created the pre and post screens. I've done a shit ton of work since then. So those pre and post screens have now been implemented into the sessions flow. And there's a whole lot more that's changed on the site since last time. So I want to dive into the roadmap, and then we're going to dive into an update on what the site's looking like right now. And then, depending on how long all of that takes, we're going to dive into a little bit of work on adding some things to some pages that I'd been working on this morning. So let's dive in. Smoking on some cherry slimeade. It's looking pretty fire. The cherry slimeade. This is the brand that one of my companies, Blue Ridge Hemp. We have this brand, Tastemakers Hemp, which is one of our in-house brands. And this is the THCA that we do. So shout out to our own brand. And shout out Shraven. So let's dive in. So again, the Mary app is a cannabis insights and tracking app. And as we've been developing the app, we've had different roadmaps. First, we wanted to just launch, basically this was the first plan. Then we had high hopes of launching like this entire full-fledged marketplace, like a Weedmaps or Leafly competitor. But then we realized that we needed to what is the saying? Like maybe we bit off more than we could chew. And building out a full-fledged marketplace that's a competitor to some of these businesses that are like billion-dollar businesses or $100 million businesses, decades old with hundreds of developers, it wasn't necessarily the best approach. So what we did instead is we're focusing on just one feature, and then we're going to build from there. So let's drive down this roadmap. So this is Excalidraw. It's a really great place to draw out your thoughts. Obviously, this looks really cool. I did this whole roadmap stuff, but literally, this is just for fun, guys. To I don't know. I'm learning all of these tools right now, And I'm learning that the more that I play with them, the more comfortable I am with them when I actually have to do like a full-on, wireframe or something like that. So like we use Excalidraw to do like all of our wireframes that then we take and can like work over and talk with the team. Like this stuff is like pretty technical. It's like full on pages, descriptions, blah blah blah. But like just sometimes you're using it just to like recreate one button. You see what I'm saying? So what I've found is by like playing around, this one's not going to show up. You're not going to be able to see this unless I go to a white screen. But basically, what you can see is that if you just play around on this and like do fun things like this, then it's going to be easier to be able to eventually like feel comfortable when you're having to use it. So this is our V.5 roadmap. V.5 is what we're calling like this first release of the app, and it has multiple steps. So the initial launch of Mary is going to focus on the sessions and answer engine features. And this is to build a strong base of individual users. So we originally wanted to build a marketplace. Now, one of the things with a marketplace is you have this like chicken and egg problem. Like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, actually we do know that the egg came first, but let's get to like the analogy. So basically in the situation with a marketplace, you have your supply and you have your demand. The supply is the actual vendors that come on and list their products and their services or whatever it is that your marketplace is about. They list those things for then the demand, meaning the individual customers, to come. So the question is with the marketplace, what do you focus on first? Do you focus on trying to get the supply onto your marketplace, which is going to drive the demand? Or do you work on bringing the demand to your marketplace first so that then once you have the supply, you can feed them? There's many different approaches. We thought that maybe we needed to go originally the first approach, which is to have a big marketplace where we could have vendors come and create their products and sell their products, so on and so forth. However, that's very technically like ambitious, where something like this is something that we can ship fast, launch, and start to get feedback on. That's one of the most important things, is being able to talk to our customers, find out if they like it, because we want to build things that people want us to build and people want to use, not just shit that we want to build. I could spend all day working on stuff like that, but that's art. Art's cool, but we're trying to build a business. So right now, we're going to be focusing on the demand. We are going to be focusing on building a feature in our app that is eventually going to be one of the main features, the session features. The answer engine is also a feature, but it's not as important to everything else. But the sessions feature, which is going to drive the individual users to start using the site on a regular basis, then bring on the supply. So when users are using our sessions app, they're going to be logging their sessions and telling us what they like about cannabis. We'll dive into that in a second. Like full on, I can show you how it looks like on the app. But what we're going to do is a lot of data is going to come from those sessions. So when somebody is smoking cherry slimeade, well, you know that I'm smoking cherry slimeade right now. We also know what time it is. Well, you also know the location. We also know, what I think about it, what I think it tastes like, how I think it feels, how it works in my body, why I am deciding to smoke this cherry slimeade. There's a lot of data that comes from the actual puff on a joint. So that data that's generated from people logging their sessions will attract vendors that are interested in consumer insights. Then we'll charge for access to this data. Once a substantial vendor base is established, the marketplace will be activated, enabling vendors to sell products and incurring additional selling fees. This phased approach ensures early user engagement, creates value for vendors and strategically transitioned into a full-featured marketplace. So let's show you exactly how we're going to do that. So we have our first race car here. We're just starting on the race, and we are at Sessions V.5. So Sessions V.5 is the first release of the app, and the main features of that app are going to be that we have user profiles. They can ask questions through the answer engine, they can log sessions through the sessions, and they can check their stats. We also have all the gamification that comes with it, so let's go ahead and add that here. And there we go. And like this, guys, is a great way just to like get your idea out of your head of what you even want to build. Like you could do this before doing any wireframes, doing anything. Like just say what you want your app to do, and that's it. Like this is enough to take to your team or to your friends or to your mom or whatever and show them and be like, look, this is what I'm working on. And it doesn't even have to like have this cool fucking like cars and shit. You could literally have like these things in a line, and that's enough to get going. So always write things down. I have been working on this project for years, guys, years. But it's been years of this kind of stuff. So that's why I understand exactly what I want to build, and now we know how to do it. So we're going to be launching this first part of the app, the V.5. It's going to have user profiles. Users can come and create a profile. They can use the answer engine. They can log sessions. They can see their stats and learn from their insights. And there's some gamification like daily streaks and XP points and so. The idea is also to have strain names and actual strains attached to session data. So one of the things that people are going to be doing is typing in like a strain, right? So let's say somebody's smoking on some cherry slimeade, right? Well, if I'm smoking on cherry slimeade and 10 other people or 100 other people or 1,000 other people are also smoking on cherry slimeade, we want to understand the data and be able to like structure that data that we receive back to an individual strain, like it says here, rather than keeping the data at random and having to somehow figure out how to aggregate and link all that data back to a strain later on. So essentially, when a user types in a strain, we will already connect that to, in the database, to an individual strain. Therefore, like, so, you know, that way we're going to be able to not have to like structure a lot of data later on. It's already going to be structured. So in the app, that's going to be one of the big things in order to start structuring data. The next step is the first introduction of vendors. This is V.5.1. So as you can see, we're a little bit farther down the racetrack. So V.5. We have the app. This is the consumer side. This is, let's say we're talking chicken and the egg. We're talking supply and demand. This is the demand. This is the supply. So we have our app. We have user profiles. We have answer engine. We have the sessions. We have stats. But now we've introduced products and strain listings, actual cards, actual pages, actual things that you can get to. Now, thanks to me, all night last night, doing another really long run that I was gonna record some of, but I wanted to do this kind of episode first before we just dove into another like hardcore like just development session where you're having to just like watch me use V0. It's not as fun. Well, maybe I just wanted to give you more context. So instead of recording some of that, I wanted to record this first. So last night, I went ahead and built out almost all of this, like, it's a skeleton. Let's call it a rough draft of the products and the strains, the actual vendor pages, vendor profiles, all of this kind of stuff. So that is going to be the next thing that we're adding onto V.5.1 is the actual like ability to check out a product, check out a strain, look at the details on that individual thing, and add those things to a session. Some things that we've also considered adding to this release as well is an add a friend feature. The add a friend feature would be ability to like invite a friend to a session. Let me show you real quick actually. So we have over here. So basically, we have this feature that I have been messing around with, which would be like this add a friend feature. So you could like share your invite code or enter a friend code. Let's say you clicked like share my friend code, you would get this code that you could send to your friend. Once you send to your friends, they would enter it in and say like I want to add this friend, and then you guys would be in a session together with each other and not have to, both of you guys have to log the data. It's a way to make the product easier for people to use, and it is a built-in way to basically like get referrals. So get people to want to like get people to like invite friends to their to the app. So there's that we're working on as a potential. This discover page, that's something else that I think might be obsolete at this point, but we'll come back to it. And then image recognition for adding products and strains, I'll show you guys that later. That's just hopefully just like one API call that we have to add to all of this in order to get it to work. So that would be really cool, so that when you're adding your own strain, so let's say that you were like, or a product, let's say that you were using some of this Blue Ridge Hemp CBD tincture, which is another one of my companies. This is my main company that like has been my bread and butter for the last 10 years. It's been a fucking amazing run. It's time for bigger and better things. But let's say that you were doing this, and you didn't want to have to type in all like that you're using Blue Ridge Hemp, CBD tincture, 1,000 milligrams, blah, 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 blah. You'll just be able to take a picture of it and it'll fill in all of that for you. Or recognize that it's something in our current database and just add that as the strain. So technology has come a long way in the last couple of years. From how I understand, it was really hard to do that before, but now not so hard. So now on the dashboard, we have this side of things. So I think that's one thing I didn't bring down here. Let's see. Do I have it open? Yeah, I do. Okay, so this is our vendor dashboard. So on the vendor dashboard, vendors can create orders, create products, strains, they have customer profiles, everything. This is still like a work in progress. However, this is what I'm referencing when we're talking about the dashboard. So on the dashboard, now we have vendor profiles, user profiles attached to vendor profiles, aka customer profiles. So let's see, we even come back, even though I made this like weeks ago, it's always a work in progress. So don't ever think that like something just because it's all pretty and looks good and you're all proud of it that you can't go in and still fix things, because you're always going to need to fix things. Yeah, so on the dashboard now we have vendor profiles, customer profiles, products, strains, and analytics. Analytics broken down by products and strains and by users, so that now users, individual users that are using products or strains that are associated with that vendor, the vendor will be able to see analytics broken down by either those products or those strains or by the individual user. And the analytics all relate back to the data that is logged when a session is logged, as well as a bunch of other stuff of how like the customer interacts on the site and how they interact with vendors, like items that don't relate to the vendor, but mostly we're focusing on like items that just relate to the vendor at this point. So that is our V.5. We are still in the process. Let's say that like here, everything for front end is done. We're just like connecting the back end. For here, we're still working on some front end stuff and we have some back end stuff to do. So that gives you some perspective. Then we have V.5.2. V.5.2 is where we are now really like having a full-fledged marketplace. Now this is where we have user profiles, answers, sessions, stats, product and strain listing pages, vendor pages, category pages, subscriptions on vendor pages, the whole 9 yards. Same thing on the dashboard. All of these things relate. This is when we're really diving in. So like at this point, maybe at V.5.1, let's say we have like up to like 40, 50 vendors. This is when we're looking at having like 100 vendors, 200 vendors. Maybe it's sooner, maybe it's later. Maybe this comes when we only have 10. Everything is a work in progress, but that's kind of my thought process. But I could be completely wrong. Even saying that out loud now, I almost think that like this is gonna happen right away. So we might even like skip some of this, go right into this, launch with this. It's all a work in progress. It all depends on how fast that we can work now. Because at this point, we have to ship product. We have to get things out to customers. We have to start getting feedback. So that's why it makes the most sense to ship here, and then ship here, and then ship here. So at this point, we are allowing users to use all of the different features of the app. They're able to basically shop from the vendors, and we start to get even more, let's say, robust data. So now we're going to connect sessions data with the answer engine. So users can chat about their data and learn even more about what the graphs can tell. Customer questions in pre and post given by a vendor so that they can set specific data about their strains or products. So right now we have like, the basic like questions that are built into sessions. What are you consuming? How much are you consuming? Why are you consuming? Where? Who with? What's the potency? What's the star rating? I think I'm missing one or two, but those are mostly it. Now we're going to allow the vendors as well as researchers to actually create their own questions so that they can get specific data that they want to know about their products or their strains. So maybe like a hash maker wants to know, something specific, or that's not a great example. But yeah, vendors will be able to have their own specific questions based on a session being logged on their item, product, or strain. Another idea that we have is connecting your Spotify API. This is just like more of a fun one, but on the session cards, it would be really cool if you could see like what music that you were listening to when you were doing a session. That's like something that I just think is super freaking cool. Reflect with Mary when leaving additional thoughts. We have conversations about your sessions. Right now, when you create a session, you have a text field to add thoughts about the session. And later on, when you're looking at your session card, you can see, you can edit that. But what I think would be even cooler is if in that text field, we put a Mary chatbot. And with that Mary chatbot, that would be like a Mary Reflect. That would be like a feature called Reflect. And you could reflect on your session in more of like a conversational setting. Eventually, we want to make that to where you can just like chat. So like I could just have my phone sitting here and I'm just like, hey Mary. And it's just like, that's the plan eventually. But this would be like the first step to doing that, is actually being able to like chat with Mary and reflect during a session or after a session. And then we would want to be able to visualize data in that chat. So Vercel Chatbot UI, they have like this, I guess it's like a software development kit or something like that. Vercel Chatbot SDK, I think that's how you can find it. But it's an ability to like add Shadcyan components into your chatbot. So your chatbot doesn't have to just display text as its like output, but it could actually display like a bar chart or a pie chart or a line chart or a session card or a product or a buy now button. I'm pretty sure that like anything is possible, but that's the future. Well, that's V.5.2. The future is actually V. Future. So after we can do all of those things, then we have this idea of V.F. Now V.F is towards this check mark, which this was even just like super fun to make. It's literally just like a bunch of boxes. But anyways, V.F, V. Future. So the idea that for vendors, like the problem that we're solving for vendors is that vendors do not understand their customers. So I've owned a company for 10 years, a CBD company, a hemp company, whatever you want to call it. We make CBD products. We also make some THC products. But we've had tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of customers interact with our products over the years. All of the data exist in my CRM of who a lot of those customers are. I know how they got to my website. I know how we marketed with them. I have so much data about my customers that stops as soon as the sale happens. That's when the data journey stops. So I could know that a customer first visited my website in 2016, visited it 3 times. The first time for 15 seconds, the second time for a minute and a half, the third time for 7.5 minutes. They made a purchase. It was a $20 purchase of a roll-on. And then over the years, that customer ended up buying some salve and buying some gel. And now I know that that customer, on average, spends, X amount of dollars every year with me. I know when they typically purchase. I know what products that they typically want to buy. And I know exactly how to market to that customer so that they come back every year for the past 9 years, 8 years to my website and continue to make a purchase. However, I do not know, unless that customer leaves a review or like, maybe somehow we actually like interact with them over email or something like that. Sometimes customers send super, super awesome emails telling us about how their products have changed their lives. But unless like we have a personal conversation with that customer, we do not understand why they're using the products. We don't understand how the products are affecting them. We don't understand, like at Blue Ridge Hemp, our mission is to empower people through our products and through our message. I don't know how I've empowered that person. Now, that's one individual customer. Now think of hundreds of thousands of individual people, hundreds of thousands of individual stories, hundreds of thousands of individual journeys. And that's just one company. I'm just one company that you've probably never heard of before. Now think of the biggest cannabis companies out there. You probably have one in your head, and you probably know that they have hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of customers, all with this journey. And companies just like mine want to understand that journey beyond the sale. They want to understand why. Why do I like this cherry slimeade? Do I like the citrusy profile? Do I like the gassiness that came with it that sets it a little bit apart from the Baby Yoda that I've been smoking on? That's another citrusy strain. Does it like help me and motivate me and inspire me to come out here and share my journey with you guys? Well, yeah, that's why I like this cherry slimeade. But you wouldn't know that unless I told you, or unless I went into the Mary app and log the session. So later on in the future, we want to let vendors connect their other data sources, like their inventory management, like their POS system, like their customer relationship management system, their CRM, and combine this data with ours. We can take all that data and aggregate it and display it in a better way that helps vendors understand their customers, their products, their sales, and understand their business so that they can make data-informed decisions. It's the name of the game. The journey ends currently at the sale, and that's the problem that we are going to be fixing for thousands and thousands of cannabis companies. So let's dive into how we're going to do that with the Mary app. So the Mary app, ask questions, track your sessions, learn from your insights. We're building a new way to understand your personal relationship with cannabis for individuals, teams, and of course, for the most important one of all, for the plant. So these are all my companies, guys. Almost all. Eric's company's on here, but Headstash, Superfire, Partake, Plant Tabs, Peace and Grow, HSO is Eric, Superfire, Blue Ridge is somewhere on here. But basically, yeah, shout out to all those guys, aka me. This is the basically just like the front side of the page, guys. It just talks about like the answer engine, the session tracker, the members only marketplace, the tools for businesses, the tools for researchers, our vision. Got all sorts of other pages, product pages, pricing pages, everything that you can think of. Those are going to be the prices that those thousands of vendors are going to be. Let's go. You guys can do the math. But let's dive into the bread and butter. So first of all, we have our answer engine. This gives the customers the ability to like ask a question and get an answer. When they search something, they'll be able to see related sources of where that information is coming from so that we know that that answer is embedded in some form of truth. It might not be 100% true, but we can at least say where it comes from so that you have a place to start in your knowledge journey. You have a library of all the questions that you've ever asked. You have suggested questions, and that is our answer engine. Eventually, like I was saying, this will be actually connected to your data so that you can ask questions about your data, and eventually we'll have more than just like a photo and text that it gives out, but eventually it'll have like actual data coming out. But let's not talk too much about the future, because now is now, and now is what we are launching. So this is when a user has logged in to the Sessions app. You have your ability to start sessions. You have the ability to set a daily goal. You have your level, your day streak, your stats. You have product cards, session cards of sessions that you've done. You have your week in progress that breaks down your week and all the sessions that you've done that week. And let's dive into doing a session. So what are you consuming? Let's say that we are consuming a strain. So now you would come on here and choose a strain. Let's say that we want to go with this Blue Dream. We're going to start a session, and then boom, we're starting a session. So guys, if anybody joined us on the last episode, this is the page that we were building out on the last episode. It looks a lot better now. So here is where you would say, like, let's say that this is our joint that we're smoking. It's a 1 gram joint. The reason is, let's just say, for anxiety, maybe a little bit pre-recording jitters. I'm with my pet, shout out to Lexington, and I'm at home. Let's just say that. So now we got a timer that starts. Now remember, this is just like a placeholder, so it doesn't say the Blue Dream that we added before. But if you wanted to add something else, you'd be able to go back and add another item. And now let's just say that this made me feel creative, it made me feel excited, it made me feel focused and relaxed all at once. I'm gonna say that, well, since we were smoking on like some, let's just say blueberry and dank, a little bit earthy and floral. Overall potency, how do we rate this session? Any additional thoughts? Session with the homies on chat. I guess you guys aren't homies on chat, but on YouTube. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. Sick. All right, so then we complete our session. We get some XP. We get a little congratulations, a little bit of dopamine boost, you know what I'm saying? And then we get sent back to the home page. So we have our day streak. This is where we are able to see how many days in a row that we've consumed. If you don't want to lose your day streak, I think we lost. If you don't want to lose your day streak, then you can do a tolerance break. So tolerance breaks can be given, and when you take a tolerance break, essentially you just get like a blue instead of a green ring, but you don't lose your streak. So it's really important. People really get attached to these streaks, but we're not trying to like punish you for deciding that you don't want to smoke cannabis today. So we're going to give you the ability to, you know, use your tolerance break. If you choose not to consume this day, you can use them as many as you need and you won't lose your streak. So then we have XP. So every time that a user logs a session, they get a certain amount of experience points. Experience points, as they add up, you progress to different levels. We have achievements that you can achieve to get even more experience points. Like let's say that you created your first session, your first 7-day streak. You reached a certain level, you get some extra XP. Active challenges, like if you were to log 3 sessions this weekend, 100 XP. Maybe try some new strains. There's some XP. XP for you. XP for me. Who wants some XP? And then you have levels, you have badges. We were going to have some artists that we work with to create these level badges that'll be hidden so that you don't get to see them until you reach them. Just something really cool that we can add. Then you have your leaderboard. Your leaderboard is going to be the global leaderboard. This is based on people's sessions data. Every time that they log a session, they get an XP. So this all has to do with that. And then let's see this person. You can see their week in review, see how much they earned this week, their day streak that they're on, top strain, top method, top feeling, everything like that, top aroma. That is all something that you'll find here. And then we have one of the most important things, the stats. So this is the user's breakdown of all of their session information, reason for consumption, method of consumption, time of consumption, feeling reported, aromas reported, where you consume, who you consume with. Everything here is information that is related to the information that you give when logging a session. You can then use this information to learn from your insights and learn about your personal relationship with cannabis. Vendors can also do the same to their customers so that they can understand this information for each individual person. So think about that customer that we talked about that has worked for a year, or they've been buying products for us for 8 years, 9 years. They're buying products every couple months. Now just think, if we had all this information for all those years, how much better we could serve that customer, and what types of data-informed decisions that we could make if we had this data. I'll leave that up to you guys to just imagine. Hopefully there's some cannabis company owners out there just like mind getting blown right now, just being like, holy fucking shit. Yeah. Call me. So This would be based on the session that we just logged. You would see here, so you see like the time, you see how much time that went on, your star rating, the method that we did, the quantity, how many XP, and then on the back we have all the broken down data, reasons, who you were with, where you were, the effects, the aromas, the potency, the thoughts. This is where eventually we were talking about where we'd be able to like reflect, we'd be able to even reflect some more. And then yeah, we have our week in review. That's going to be the breakdown of our whole week. So that is right now most of the app. Now what I've been working on the past couple of, well, basically just the last 24 hours has been the actual shop pages, which is going to be featured brands. This is more if we want to go back and kind of talk, relate back to here. Now we're getting more into this kind of stuff. V.5.1, V.5.2 land is where I'm starting to build out the actual shops. So we have vendor profiles, we have product pages where you can, at first we're going to only allow for reserving because we're not going to be like doing license purchasing, but you can reserve a product that then can be picked up at a license place. You could also start a session, directly in here. Community stats, information about the brand, related products. So that's more of the marketplace side of things. And then we have strains, same thing, where you have breeders, where we'll have breeder pages, and then we have strain pages. And strain pages are similar to brand pages, where we have a breakdown of that strain. So you have some information about the effects, the flavors, the description, some information about the genealogy. We're going to have to build this out into more of a graphical interface that's going to be more like a family tree. If you could imagine like seeing the mother and father and all these grandparents, well, we want to see like how that family tree actually looks. So that's going to be another part to build out on this. It's not going to be difficult. It's just going to take knowing exactly what we want and building it. But I know what I want, so I'm going to build it. And the Mary community stats based on that strain, related products or related strains, products that are related to that strain, And that has been my focus, what you guys didn't get to see me work on. You also didn't get to see me work on all these buttons for like hours. You didn't get to see me work on this. You didn't get to see me work on a lot of these things. However, I think that we have enough time. It's been 45 minutes. So we're going to call this the part where if you want to stay and check out how I actually build out some of this, then stick along. And if not, it's been awesome explaining our app, explaining our roadmap, explaining the problem that we're solving. And I can't wait to see you next time. I'm going to have another little smoke. I'm going to try to upload these as often as possible. And I think that they're going to change and be different as we go, because this is like, I didn't ever think I was going to be doing all of this side of the work. Well, I knew I was going to do everything I just did now. I didn't think I was going to actually be building it. And I built all of this. All this front-end development, I did this myself. And I didn't think that that was possible when I first started on this journey. So I don't know like what's going to be possible later on in the future. So maybe I'll be you guys will be joining us for some crazy things that I can never imagine. But I just can't wait to see, what it's all going to look like and have you guys here on this journey. So thank you so much. Shout out to you. Please subscribe if this is something that you're interested in. Check out the app as soon as we launch. It's going to be very soon. If this is something that you're interested in, reach out if this is a problem that we could solve for you. And if you just think that building shit is cool and you want to watch just like somebody fuck around with some of these AI tools and play around with that, then let's do that too. So let's dive into some of this. So what we need to work on right now And this was a better almost, I should have showed you guys the whole app on, I should have showed you the whole app on like the mobile, because it's actually like a lot more people are going to be using it on mobile than they will be most likely on their desktop. So this is kind of like a better representation of the pages even. As you can see on the desktop, it was almost like mobile-y, desktop-y. But what we need to work on is the fact that these pages right now, if you were to navigate from shop or strain pages from the nav bar, it's not supposed to have this back button or this add product thing, because those are mainly only there because of that functionality. So the fact that you can start a session, click here, it makes sense to then add a strain, because if you don't choose a strain that you're going to use, then you would need to add one, right? However, I don't want to make this page again, like do a duplicate of this page and just without these, because that's like a lot more work. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to just have the team, and when they connect the logic to this, they're going to have to like create a duplicate page and just remove this buttons. So they can do that, and this title here, so that a user will not see those if they navigate to these pages from here. But if they navigate to these pages from strains or from products, those things do need to show up. And what also needs to be there is a search bar, because a user is either going to have to like search through each individual strain, which is a total bitch. Like, I would never do that. Or they're going to want to just be able to like put a little search in here. So that is what we need to work on right now. So let's start with the shop page. So the shop page is going to be up here, is what it's called. So let's get to work. So we need to add a search field to the at shop. Remember, this was at shop page. We need to add a search field to the at shop page that lets the user easily search for a product based on the product name or vendor name. Let's add this field to the top of the page below the nav bar. So we don't want to associate this ask anything at all with this search feature. This is purely just a search for products. So I think that that's going to be a clear enough thing that we can at least see what it does. It's just warming up. Literally, after I do this thing for a while, like you can see here, this is like V102, so that was all, I don't know, from basically 6 in the morning this morning till like 11 in the morning or so, was like those 100 versions to do whatever the hell I was doing here. And the computer gets really warm. This is a MacBook Air M3 that I'm using. That's a relatively brand new computer.
I'll add a search field to the top of the At Shop page, just below the navigation bar. This will allow users to search for products based on the product name or vendor name. Let me think through how to implement this feature. Let's update the shop page to include the search feature. Modifying app/shop/page.tsx. I've made the following changes to the shop page: add a new search input field just below the navigation bar, implemented basic search functionality that filters products based on the product name and vendor name, updated the grouped products use memo to use the filtered products instead of all products, kept the existing layout of styling consistent with the rest of the pages. Search field is now prominently displayed at the top of the page, allowing users to easily search for products or vendors. The search is performed in real time as the user types, filtering the displayed products accordingly. So let us see if it looks like we want it to. Honestly, it's really, it's good. I was honestly thinking of putting it here, but it makes sense to put it here. But maybe it's sense to move that here. Okay, but now this page needs the same thing. So let's just see if it'll work. Now we need to add the same thing to the at strains page. So as you can see, guys, once we've gotten the page created and it has the logic of what's on the page and what the page does, like when I started with just a blank page, if I had asked it to do everything with this page, like in order to get this page, we had to ask it to first just make a page called at shop. Don't put anything on it but the nav bar. Then I had it add a grid of cards. Then we added the titles above the cards. Then I added the hero image. Then we added the see all buttons. Shit, I forgot that there's a see all pages too. Whew. That was a whole nother set of pages that we was made. But yeah, so you have to build everything piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, stack by stack by stack by stack. So adding this little search bar, while that just hopefully only took us 2 prompts, is only because we have so much context that we're building on top of. We're building just stay in the same chat. That's my advice. I've made a new search field, so let's see if it looks the exact same and if it's in the exact same place. So that was the one that we added to shop. Oh. Well, at least we get to see what it looks like in the different places. So I think I do like it here. I don't know. I think I like it here. Alright, so now we need to tell it move the Alright, so we just are asking it to make it to where this is in the same location. And I'm not trying to say that this is the best way to do this, because somebody that knows how to code is like, bro, just go into your code. It's just one fucking thing. You just have to change this div, or you have to do that, or do that. But I don't know how to do all of that. So what I want to show you guys is that you don't have to know how to code in order to do front end development, thanks to the tools that are out there now. So even though this might not be the most effective way to do it for like the sharpest tool in the shed, well, guess what? I can do this with like this really cool tool. All right. I'll move the search text box on the strains page to match one, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if it did it. And if it didn't, then we'll just ask it in a different way. I was kind of lazy with that, but I could be more descriptive and tell it to move it below the buttons and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But I always like to try like the easy thing first, and then, okay, so search bar is now positioned just after the back and add strain button before the choose a strain and add your own heading. Change maintains consistency with the layout, exactly what we hoped. Now, we are the eyes. If this guy is like doing all the work, but he can't actually see what shows up on the screen, now we have to be the eyes for the LLM. So let's see with our eyes. Shop page. There we go. And then let's say, now let's change the placeholder. You know what? Let's validate it. Perfect. Now let's change the placeholder in the strains search field to search strains or vendors. Let's see. See, here's another fun thing that I made in Excalitraw. Leansy. That's an artist that I like, and the Leans, and he did this contest that if you did any type of like artistic representation of his little character, that you could be entered to win. So in order for me to have a really like couple hours of playing with Excalitraw, I drew Leansy on Excalitraw, and I don't even know how to do, at that point I didn't know how to even do any curved lines. There's not a single curved line in this whole thing. It's all really, really, really short straight lines. Okay, so let's see what it did. That took a really long time for it to just do that little thing. I've updated the placeholder text in the search input field on the strain page. The new placeholder now reads search strains or vendors, which match your request and provides a clear indication to users that they can search for both strains and vendors. Is there anything else you'd like to modify? No, thank you. But the preview's taken a long time. doesn't want to show us the preview. There it goes. All right, let's see. Search strains or vendors, search product or vendors. Okay, now I want to see what it looks like. Now let's move the choose a product. Oh, let's do it this way. Let's move this to, all right, so it's modifying something. app.shop.page.tsx. It's getting updated. It's going to move that above the buttons exactly as we asked it to. Please and thank you. So far, you guys haven't really seen me like do anything super technical either, because on the last episode, we weren't like building anything from scratch necessarily. So you're just getting to see a little bit of updates. Maybe I'll share the special sauce at some point. Okay, I think that looks way better. Well, we finished our joint. And I think that it's going to be just in time. Because if this is looking good, golden. All right, so we're going to leave it there. It's been real. This has been official episode number 2 of Marry App Dev Sessions, Building in Public. I'm Will, your founder, and I can't wait for you guys to be able to use our app. If this is something that is interesting to you, then like I said before, and shout out to anybody that stuck around for this last little bit, because I know that it wasn't too exciting, but just a little taste of how anybody that knows how to like communicate their wants, their needs, their desires can do exactly what I'm doing. And I just want that to be like the message, a little part of the message of this like whole dev sessions thing. So yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for being here on the journey. If you are here in the video still, then you're a real one. See you guys next time.